So you've just opened TouchDesigner and you're wondering, what is all of this? How can I navigate all of this? And don't take it as a lot. Matter of fact, I'm going to explain every corner and what it does. So today we're going to learn about the TouchDesigner environment. Like, what does this interface look like? What does it do? What does every corner signify? What is the grammar that is used to associate itself with the interface of TouchDesigner? So we're going to start from the very top, right over here under the, in every software where you can open a file, create a file, save a file, import a file, close the project you're currently working on, open another project you're working on. That is the purpose of the file. For edit is the main part where you need to know about this is just the edit preferences. This is the part whereby you can be able to alter certain settings, maybe based on a tutorial that you're following or based on something that you're going about. Next we have the dialogs. Dialogs are these boxes. So when you click this section called the wiki, it automatically opens this page, which is the Wikipedia, whereby all the details that you would be looking for about TouchDesigner, it's like a dictionary but for TouchDesigner. So anything you need to know about it is found on the wiki. Anything you need to find out about TouchDesigner, I hope we're together on that. We have forums, we have tutorials. Those are the purpose. These are just resources whereby everything and anything you need will be located there. So this is the power on and off button. As you can see, I don't know if you can clearly see, there's movement in this sample data. That means that information is being passed from the first dialog to the next dialog. So this process is known as cooking. You can power on and off the cooking. So you see, when I toggle this as off, the movement stops, but when I toggle it on, the movement continues. Next, we have the documentation of the frames per second. So the timeline is recorded in terms of frames, just like we know every video is made up of individual pictures known as frames, that the trilogy of like all the frames following each other is what makes up a video. So this part tells us how many frames we are, which frame we are on. And as you can see, because my timeline is on and moving, the timelines keep changing. This just shows how much of your GPU you are using. So this helps you manage, like if you have a storage issue, if you have a slightly not so good computer, that is where you find out. This palette, I will talk about it later, but I did tell you it is additional settings to advance the creation that you're making. So what is this creation and how is it called? This creation is called a network. A network meaning this part and this part and this part and this part are different operators that have been brought together to create a network, meaning the creation itself of TouchDesigner, like what you're making, is referred to as a network. This space with the grid where you can see the boxes is known as the network editor. This section is known as the parameters. So each of these dialogues, each of these operators that you have added have different adjustments that you can make to them. For example, this operator, these are the parameter settings for this. When you change, it changes with that parameter. When you change again, it changes with that. So the parameter settings are additional settings that you add to your operator so that you can customize or curate a certain vision that you want to execute. So this parameter tab, you can add it or remove it by toggling on the letter P. When you press P, it shows up, P, it goes away, P, it shows up, P, it goes away, P, it shows up, P, it goes away. Additionally, you can like left click, and at this section, you just click parameters and the parameter window will show up any part you want. So this, left click, left click, it has parameters, left click, it has parameters. Other factors that you can find when you left click are info. Info works the same way as a wiki. So The wiki will take you to the general guidelines of TouchDesigner, but the info part will be like, I am looking at an output, at an, what is it called? I'm looking at a chop operator. So the wiki will give me info about it will take me to an online website which will explain to me chops, which will help me understand. Those are the factors that you get from the wiki. So when you have your parameters, I'll just turn that on with P. There's this question mark. Again, help works the same way as left clicking and choosing the help. There's this info, works the same way as left clicking. So whichever way you're comfortable with finding information, TouchDesigner has curated it for you so that you can be able to find out and realize what it is that you're doing at this point in time. And the wikis are very detailed, the information is very detailed. So how to select? I don't have a mouse, so I am just left click, select all, left click, select these three, left click, select these three. So it's left click and drag my mouse. If it was on my mouse, I would right click, I would click and then drag. The same way you would select in any other app works exactly the same on this software. To be able to delete, you just press delete on your keyboard. And now when you see when I delete all operators, there's no operator selected. So to be able to add an operator, you can double click at any empty space. Just double click. So you will find that there are different types of operators. We have coms, stops, chops, sops, pops, mats, dots, all of those. Those we're going to cover in the next lesson, whereby we're going to break down who does what and what type of it. But if I double click, I get an operator and then I just click it on the network editor and it's now on my software, and then it comes with parameters of its own. If I press delete, it goes away. What I am looking at here is some parts that I have not explained. So let's start with this corner over here. This arrow enables you to split your panel. Panel is the general term for all softwares, but here I am going to call it, let me just add some operators so that we can understand what we're doing. I'm just going to add an analyze, and you see when I press the arrow at the corner and said split left, I split my viewership to 2, and then now you can alter this to become another viewer, like a top viewer, a chop viewer, and here is where you're changing to the exact corner, whereby whatever viewer you need to be watching at the time, that is where you change it from. If I press split from the top, now you see now I have 3 of them. If I press close or maximize, there we go. If I press a floating copy, that means it's a detached copy that I can drag and move around. That is what. So we have those 3 options. Ideally, let me just close this. Here we have the pane layouts. So I've told you panel and panes are the exact same thing. So if I press this, it's like I'm splitting in the middle, which again I've told you can also do from this section. If I press this, I have split them horizontally. If I press this, I have now split them into 3 times. If I press this, I have split them into 4 times. And if I press new layout, this means that I am going to create a new type of pane that you see how people curate their workspaces, so that here I can be able to see what I am working on. Here I can see the factors that are creating the video. Here I can see how the audio is acting. So you can be able to see different parts of your workspace at the same time. So I'm just going to go back to my original layer. We have this as my original layer. So this bottom part is known as a timeline. Let us not confuse this timeline with the one for video editing. The one for video editing enables us to cut, curate, arrange videos, but everything I am telling you on TouchDesigner is arranged on this network editor. Let us not make it a point whereby we are doing things on the timeline. The timeline is used to either loop your video or whatever it is you're going about. So if your video is looped at 60 frames per second, you can be able to watch through the 60 frames. But if you put once, it means that it will just go through the 60 frames and then stop after that. After it's done with 60 frames, it stops after that. So this means just go to the next, go to the next, the next. This means going backwards. But I do not advise that you go backward, because whatever network you have over here is working towards this direction. Like it's it's something transactional. The operators are moving from point A to point B, point C. The data is cooking towards the end. So if you press backwards, it kinda, I don't want to call it misalignment, but I don't know what happens whereby the data is still going forward and you do not get a reverse effect. I hope you're understanding that. So time codes, time bits, this tells you how many frames you have generally. So say here I have my starting point at the first frame, end point at 600 frames, and you can see here my frame rate is 60 frames per second. That means 60 images are occurring every second. So for every second I am able to create 60 frames. That means that this video currently is ongoing for how many seconds? 600 divided by 60, that is 10. So go ahead and edit. You can be able to edit these factors based on the bits that you're making, what you're making. Render, how many frames do you want rendered? That is where you can be able to render like the first 60 seconds, the next 60 seconds, like that, so that you can be able to, I don't know, there are manageable ways of being able to make your low quality computer achieve the things that you need. So this is one of them. So you don't want to render the whole 600 frames. Say you're working with like 2400 frames because your video is like 2400 divided by 60, that is around 40 seconds. You want to see the first 15 seconds, so you'll do 15 times 60. 15 times 60 is what? Is 30 times 30, yes. So that is 900. So you will render 900 frames. That is how it works. It makes it easier. It deburdens your GPU if you don't have an NVIDIA. So the palette I am going to explain in detail as I am breaking down what everything does. So for now I'm just going to close it. Let us go over what we have learned for the day. So the file, just like in every other app, to add, to open, to save a file, to import a document. The edit, mostly just to edit preferences depending on like whether you're following a professional and they have like a very specific rules of how their outcome could come out. The wiki is a dictionary library whereby all the information that is going on TouchDesigner, that is what you get. The forum, again, platforms whereby creatives who do create on TouchDesigner offer help, answers, anything you need. Tutorials, these are done by TouchDesigner themselves, like they are enabling you to be able to use the platform. So any question you would have, once you click this tutorial, it will tell you exactly what you need to do. On and off, this is pausing and unpausing of the cook time. Frames, we got that from 60 frames per second, so you see why it's 60. This, because my timeline is running, it shows which frame we are at. GPU, this tells you how much of your GPU you're using at a certain time. So as you can see, for just this I am using 0.2 GB. That is like 200 MB to be able to render this. Then next we came about the panels, creating pane layouts. So we have one single, side by side, top and bottom, 3, 4 parts, and you can also create a layout of your own. That is also the same right over here. So whereby you want to duplicate, to create a floating one, to swipe left, to split to the left, to the top, to the bottom, whatever you want to achieve to create and curate your workspace, that is where you go to. Next, we have this parameter section where I told you with P, you can turn on and off the parameters. And the parameters are directly proportional to the operators that you have added. I said that you can be able to zoom in and out by just dragging your trackpad. And if you zoom out excessively, you will find yourself in this part, whereby this means that this is a project within a project, and this you can be able to get out of this section by using I, which means inside, to get inside, or you to go out. So it's I for inside, U to go out. That means that there's a project within my project. Like you can see here is the exact home page for your project. Like you see how when you're creating files, we have at your local disk, you have local disk, and then you have desktop. So this is the local disk part, and when I press I go inside the desktop part, and that is where my project is set to take place. If you get lost, it's I for inside and U for up. So it's inside and up. So you can go inside and up. I hope you've understood that. To add, double click any section, double click any section, double click any section. We're going to learn about all these operators in the next lesson, and I'll tell you what each and every one of them does. Then we're going to learn about the anatomy. You can see all of them are differentiated by color, and these said colors are differentiated by darker and lighter. So in the next lesson, we're going to cover all these operator types, what each operator does, and then we're going to go in depth about the breakdown of the anatomy of our operator. So you can see here we have a lot of corners, buttons. That is what we're going to break down in the next lesson. We learned about the timeline, looping, going front and back, editing our frame rate, editing the time at which our video will play through. So that is it for the interface. I feel like now when you look at the software, you can be able to tell me, hey, this does this, this does this, this does this. You can also add an operator from this section. So you can double click, you can press tab, it brings up the operator dialog, and you can add an operator from here. There is always like 3 to 4 ways of doing the same thing, so do not be overwhelmed by the magnitude. It's just that as the software grew, some people needed easier access. Like I could be coming for this, I just need to do this to add an operator. I could be needing the operator to show up here, so I will just double click there, select and drag. So I hope you understand that it's not a busy interface. It's just an interface whereby you can understand like what exactly is going on and where I need to place my attention. So now we have learned how to add, how to bring about the parameters, and how to curate our workspace so that you can fit the aesthetic that we're going for. See you in the next lesson, whereby we're going to learn about what types of operators are there on this platform, what types of the anatomy of an operator, whereby what makes this operator, what makes this operator do that. After that, we're going to learn about the different types of operator families and what are their characteristics, and then we're going to learn how to connect different operators. See you in the next lesson. Thank you for watching. Bye.